The Feynman Lectures on the Character of Physical Law, Part 4. You are listening to Brothers of the Serpent podcast.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, angels and demons and monsters and serpents. This is Brothers of the Serpent podcast, and we are coming to you not live from the 10x10x10 Tangent Cube of Science, where we are nestled amongst the dusty bones of an ancient seabed, high atop the very dry Edwards Plateau. Dry and crunchy. Dusty bones are very dusty. We need some rain down here. I mean, we've been getting a little bit, but it's just not like we normally do. I mean, we missed all of the spring storms. Right? I feel like we normally in the spring we get thunderstorms and
yeah, we've only had like 3.2 inches all year.
Yeah. So
at the vineyard where the weather station is.
Right.
So it's been very dry.
Yeah.
And it's been so dry that the creek stopped running. Turtle Creek.
Yes.
And there's two reservoirs. There's two dams on the property. And they were basically dry. The water stopped flowing over the dam, both dams, and
which that is. I mean, that's happened occasionally. It'll stop, but they've never dried up like this.
Yeah,
before.
this is dried up. In other words, there's water's not even touching the dam.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's basically these big still ponds, puddles.
Right. Yep.
And there's so much silt in there from 50 years or whatever of alluvium. So we made the decision, well, not us, but our boss made the decision like, okay, we're gonna dredge these out.
And the neighbor across the way, right? They're kind of.
We have a new neighbor who bought the place across the creek, and he's like, let's dredge this out.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, let's do it.
Yeah.
And we pulled the plug on the dams, and I dug a trench
To let the rest
through
of the,
the sediment to the place where the water was standing. And we were prepared with a giant harvest bin full of water with bubblers in it and nets. And when the water was draining out, we were netting up all these huge fish, dude. And I mean, we pulled out some catfish, the biggest cats I've ever seen in my life. And I mean, one of them took two of us to pick it up and throw it in that harvest bin. It had to be like, I don't know, 40 or 50 pounds. This thing was massive.
God.
And we pulled like four of those out. The biggest one was the one I just mentioned, but the other three were still huge fish. And it ripped one of the nets. So our two coworkers like had these 2 5-gallon buckets, and they got one over the fish's head and the other guy got the other bucket over his tail, and they were like dragging him through the mud, picked him up, and oh my gosh, it was just crazy. Giant bass. So we loaded all these fish in this tank, and then we took them to our back pond, which is we can fill it with the well. That's the pond that waters the hillside vineyard.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty nice pond, and we dumped all these. I mean, there's hundreds of fish in that pond now, because they pulled hundreds of fish out of the upper reservoir the first couple of days.
Right. Yeah.
And then we just did the lower reservoir.
Is there like some kind of survival of the fishiest going on in there right now?
We tried to catch a whole bunch of the perch and the minnows and stuff and throw them in there too.
Yeah.
So hopefully, and then we're gonna provide supplemental feed in that pond.
Yeah, we got to.
But there's a giant, the frogs were just living it up in that pond. They're like, we own this bitch. Not anymore.
Nope.
So
now there's some monsters in
there
there.
are some monsters in there. It was just mind blowing.
It's crazy because people fish in there, and they're catching little things or whatever, and then like you drain it, and there are these enormous monsters living in the mud at the bottom.
We're sludging through the mud, and we're looking for fish and stuff, and it's like, okay, the water's maybe a foot deep.
Yeah,
there's a couple of places where the water's kind of deep, but mostly you're just walking in this thick mud,
right?
And we're not seeing the fish. And finally, we're like, okay, well, let's call it a day. And I drove the excavator through the deepest part of the water, which is not even deep enough to go over the mini excavator track, like
Right,
up into the body of the mini excavator. So anyway, I dropped the blade down a little bit and just like pushed some of this mud, and it's literally like the consistency of
like pudding.
Yeah, pudding.
Yeah.
So it's not mounding up in front of the of the blade. It's just sort of
Right.
out in front. And I guess they had cubby holes down in that mud because that's when the giant fish just came out of the woodwork, and they were like they were
Beaching themselves.
Beaching themselves. Yeah. And we were like, oh, running down there, just grabbing these fish. Man, what a day. It was 13
That just
hours.
made me, you were telling me all that, and that just made me think about the ocean. They're like this. Like,
Yeah,
do
yeah.
we really have any
No,
idea
we have no idea what's
how big there are stuff, some of that stuff is down there. Like you think you figured it all out. There's a school of fish here. There's that thing over there. But no, man, there's monsters down there.
You haven't been down into that cave at the bottom of the Marianas Trench.
That's right.
You haven't seen the worm.
It's not a
that's in
cave.
there.
It's just to the mouth.
That's right. Yeah. It was amazing. So we saved as many fish as we could, and you can't save them all. So it was still kind of like But the cool thing is that we did dredge the upper reservoir a couple years back as best as we could with some small machines.
Yeah.
And it made it deeper. It was completely choked with lily pads and mud and boulders and all this stuff. And when we did that, we threw all those fish downstream over
That's
the
right.
dam into the lower reservoir.
Yeah.
So I was thinking for the past couple of years, I'm like, that upper reservoir didn't have good fish in it.
Right.
Well, it did. It
Yeah.
had monsters in there, and they were flourishing. So it's like, I was just thinking, maybe when we dredged it out, there was a lot more room, and they flourished up there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm hoping that when we dig this out, because down at the lower dam, it's probably 8 feet deep.
Yeah.
But really, it's been knee deep.
It could be 8 feet deep if we dug it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been knee deep.
Yes. For a long time.
So
yeah.
it should be a much better place. And like once we get it cleaned out, and then we can move all those fish back.
Once we get it cleaned out and we get some water, some rain.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
It fills it back up. Yeah.
Well, we won't move all the fish, but we probably will move a bunch of fish back.
Yeah. How are you going to catch them?
Well,
Just pump all the water out of that upper
the
pond
upper
and
pond the upper pond needs some maintenance too.
Okay,
Right?
yeah.
It's a little leaky up on the dam, so we were thinking, well, we could let it kind of dry up in the winter. So once we get water,
Yeah.
we can maybe we can go in there and net some fish and move them, but I don't know. I don't know what we're going to do. We'll
Yeah.
figure it out.
Weather permitting.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. That's your agricultural update. Always something weird.
It's never a dull moment.
What about rock and roll? We could tell them, we're just practicing.
Yeah, we've just been jamming.
Yeah. We're working on learning how to play the album like live.
Yeah, and there's a couple of different ways to do it. There's an acoustic show,
Yep.
which would still be plugged in, but we're playing acoustic guitars. Not like a big drum set, but using more of the percussion, the djembe. So it's kind of like a smaller deal. And then there's the full electric show, and so we've been working on multiple different things. But yeah, we're going to be booking dates to go do those cave sessions. So Russ and I have been jamming.
Yeah.
I just went up to Austin yesterday and jammed out with Archer.
Yep.
So, yeah, just, shedding it. Wood shedding it.
Wood shedding it. Yeah. All right.
Excellent!
There you go. Rock and roll update. Let's do space weather. From spaceweather.com. Geomagnetic storm watch. A minor G1 class geomagnetic storm is possible on July 20th and 21st when a slow-moving CME is expected to hit Earth's magnetic field. This CME was hurled into space by an unstable filament of magnetism, which erupted on July 15th. Also, there was a huge solar prominence. There is a prominence jutting out from the sun's southwestern limb today. It is so big that astronomers were struggling to squeeze it into a single photograph. They had to mosaic 6 exposures to capture the entire thing. They inserted an image of Earth for scale. So this wall of plasma is more than 5 times taller than our entire planet.
Wow.
Structures like this, in which scorching hot plasma is held very high by dynamic magnetic fields, are inherently unstable. If this prominence erupts in the next couple of days, amateur astronomers will get a fantastic side-on view of its disintegration. Yeah, it's kind of amazing to look at that and think that, you know, we see we see volcanic plumes here, and they appear to just tower up into the atmosphere. But this is a plume that's coming off the surface of the sun that goes 5 times higher than our entire planet.
That's insane.
It's wild.
And the gravity well that it's in is so ridiculously strong.
Yes,
and so it's throwing that stuff.
But relative to the body it's on, it's just a small little plume, just like a volcano here. It's just the scales are crazy. And then, of course, our sun is a little bitty dot compared to some of the stars that are out there in space.
It's wild.
Yeah. Current conditions, solar wind speed is 413.0 kilometers per second, and the density is a very low 0.62 protons per cubic centimeter. Sunspot number is 153. Neutron count is only 2.9% above the space age average. KP index is 2, which is quiet, and the 24-hour max was also 2.
Cool. Do you remember, I don't know, it was probably a couple of years ago where I was talking about what if we are in a black hole?
Oh, yeah.
You remember this?
Yeah.
We were talking about redshift and all this.
Yeah.
Everything looks like it's hauling ass away from us. And
Yep.
so Archer showed me a video the other night of this physicist who was basically explaining that that's what he thinks is going on.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And of course, he's got all the really good information to back it up. So he sent me that link. We should watch it.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, for some reason, I just remembered that. It's I'm just thinking about the pulsars and stuff, that are.
Oh, yeah.
It's just all this weird stuff that's happening out there that we're like, oh my God, what is the deal?
Yeah.
Like, how and dark matter and dark energy, and how much of this could be explained by the fact that we are in
some kind of
a black hole.
A singularity. Yeah, I mean, I've read some old science fiction that talked about the possibility of living like if everything was done correctly, you could orbit just inside the radius, the Schwarzschild radius.
Schwarzschild?
I don't know, Schwarzschild radius of the black hole. Just below the area where it's the strength of gravity is just higher than the speed of light. Then it would basically shut you off from the rest of the universe,
Yeah, so I think this guy's idea is that the entire observable universe is inside it.
Is in one, yeah.
Which is why there's that horizon out there that...
Right.
So it explains... Because the closer you are, like, in, right, that would basically explain the expansion, the dark energy thing.
Yep.
Everything, the further away everything is, the further you're separating from it.
Right.
The faster you're separating from it. And then the horizon out there where just light can't even, that's outside.
Yeah. That's the edge of the radius.
Yeah. Crazy.
So the whole observable universe is in one. Yeah.
I think that's where he's going. We didn't watch the whole thing. It's an hour long, and it was like 6 a.m.
Oh, okay.
And we were like, we were still up drinking beers. Like, let's go to bed. This is awesome.
All right, crypto. Bitcoin is $20,828.87, and Ethereum is $1,345.60. Everything market is still down.
Yeah. I'm waiting.
Yeah,
I'm waiting until it's too late to get in.
You're procrastinating.
Trying to find I'll find the link in the break.
Oh, I have another thing.
For that black hole thing.
It's been long enough now that I guess it's real, so I can talk about it on the podcast. But I quit cigarettes, I guess about a month ago. So just to explain what if you're hearing this,
that's him breathing into the oxygen tank.
Yeah, that's basically me dying from lack of smokes.
I guess we're going to have to change it to beers, vapes, and rock and roll.
Beers, yeah. Well, yeah, so I switched to this vape pen, and that's what I've been using for the past month.